special good afternoon to everyone. Welcome. Come in, come in. Yes. Welcome to the National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago's very first Toute Bagai lecture in 2026. It is so great to see each of you all, and thank you for journeying with us in 2025 with this lecture series where Toute Bagai we talk everything heritage. So this being our first lecture for the year, this is a very special one, and I would like to take the opportunity to say thank you to each of you for joining us. Welcome, come in. How are you? How are you? Wonderful to see each of you all. Wonderful. My name is Joseph Bertrand, Education and Outreach Officer at the National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago. And it is so special to have this lecture here with you all, our friends and family at the National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago. This Toute Bagai lecture. And coming up on Saturday, we have Tiny Mass, Big Heritage 2, right here at Mille Fleurs, this third Magnificent Seven building around the Queen's Park Savannah. Adults, $100, and the children, $50. And you have an experience with our traditional carnival. The National Trust, we are about heritage preservation. We're about heritage preservation of our natural and built heritage, and we also get into the culture as well. And that is surrounding today's lecture. So again, welcome, come in, come in, come in. Thank you. Wonderful to see all of you. Wonderful. And again, for those who just joined, take the moment now to ensure that your mic is on mute. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Make sure that your mic is on mute so that we all can participate in this evening's lecture, this evening's conversation surrounding traditional carnival, the Midnight Rubber edition. Yep. So take the moment now to just make sure that your mic is on mute. Wonderful. Everybody, mic is on mute. And with that, thank you so much. And with that, we also want to remind you all, for those who are not yet members of the National Trust, and yes, I said not yet members of the National Trust, you are more than welcome to stand with all of us in saying that our heritage, Trinidad and Tobago's heritage, is important and worthy of being saved. One person screaming that message is not as effective, my friends, as if we have thousands saying the same thing. So, looking forward to those who may not be members as yet to join us and be part of the movement in terms of preserving our heritage. And at this time, I would like to begin our 2026 kickoff, our 2026 Toute Bagai Lecture Series with the man himself, Sir Kurtis Gross. We are dealing with our traditional carnival, and in particular, the Midnight Rubber. So firstly, Sir Gross, thank you for agreeing to be here with us.
It's a pleasure.
And to really open up the conversation about the Midnight Rubber. So firstly, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in traditional carnival, firstly.
Well, the thing about it is, growing up, I've always seen traditional carnival. Let me give you a bit of me. I grew up in St. Mary's Children's Home. And one of the things is that they would, around carnival time, take you at least to go to Queen's Park Savannah to look at some of the masks at that time. There, I witnessed some work by Strasser and other masks, but I was always fascinated by the living masks that Strasser played. The Midnight Rubber fascinated me, but I didn't believe that I could ever do it. So I never believed that I would ever walk in that vein. When I left the orphanage, I was adopted into a family that were Christian. And from there, I went straight to church. So my whole moral compass, everything was centered on that. Eventually on campus, I remember doing a performance and coming into contact with Brian Honoré.
Yes, yes.
Right? At the time when I met Brian, I knew him as a Kaisonian, right? But he had this way, sometimes he look at you this piercing way, right? And you'd swear you did something wrong that angered him, you know, and therefore he had this way, he would just stare at you. And then you'd be like, what? What it is? And he would say, nothing, right? And at first I felt really off about it because I thought I did something. Eventually I found out that's how he is naturally. He just look at you. And in talking a little more with him, I remember one day we in a rehearsal, we were doing something called the Jill Miles story. And he said something. And I looked at him. And the way he looked across, simple. He was facing this way. I was on his left, further on stage. And his eyes moved first. And then he turned and looked at me and he said, I'm talking to you. And I remember that. So I kind of found it creepy at the time. And I said, Brian, what kind of thing is that? That was my thing. I said, this thing with your eye move first. He said, habit. And I said, habit of what? And he said, well, I used to play dragon. And the thing with a dragon, once you play the mass, he said that you hear your eye dance first and then you turn to face who you look at. So that's what and then eventually we became very good friends. And throughout the production, we would come early and sit down and talk. And then one day, he just ups. And we were doing something and he said, halt! You mocking pretender, who authorized you to stand there, you know? And I'm kind of surprised because I haven't actually interacted with anybody in a long time about that. And then I said, but Brian, you could do rubber talk? And he said, well, yeah, I play Midnight Rubber. I said, but I thought you played dragon. He said, I played dragon. He said, but my thing now is Midnight Rubber. Right? Then fortunately, we ended up on campus together, right? Doing productions. And sometime in between there, he would just say something, just break off into a rubber speech and then disappear. And I decided to interview him one day to get some information on characters. And I remember him saying, you want the information? And I said, yes. And he said, meet me down on Journey Avenue, Carnival Monday. I said, Brian, what? He said, meet me Carnival Monday down the avenue. And I said, Brian, that's Carnival. I don't be involved in Carnival. I'm in church because I'm on the pulpit. And he said, if you want the information, which I know you want, come down. And I did. And when I came, he handed me a costume to put on. And I said, Brian, you have to be mad, right? And he said, if you need the information, put it on. Right? And I did. And he turned to me and said, unfortunately, I don't have a hat for you. So you'll have to go dress so. And I said, I am not crossing the stage bareheaded so people could see and say, that is not so that's being church on the pulpit, right? So I say I wasn't taking that. And then my fear was my mother probably might be sitting looking at television and to see her son crossing the stage. I said, I wasn't going to live that down, and I know the pastors and everybody was coming hard at me. So being in the creative industry, being an actor, because I'm involved in acting and everything else, I decided I'm going to paint a skull on my face. Then I'm going to get a bag, put it on, cut out the face. And if just to make sure that they don't catch me to try to talk, I put masking tape all over my mouth, right? And then I draw a sign called the Silent Killer.
Okay.
And every time when we're crossing stage now and everybody palming up, because like everybody did asking Robert's speech, I would just show them the sign. And my mouth is sealed, so I can't give a speech. So, but what happened was the information was so rich and the experience was so rich. He said, what you thought about this? And I said, it was really nice. He said, next year, come again. You'll get more. The next year, I didn't care whether my mother see me or not, right? so there I was, 10 minutes, General Junction, on General Avenue, and he said, you're playing, I said, give me a costume now, man. So you give me a costume and then give me a hat.
This time with a hat.
Yeah. And what I did not know was that they went and registered me.
Oh.
He did that before he even confirmed with me whether I'd play or not. He went, they took my name and they went and registered me. So I got the costume and I'm all, yeah, not afraid to do this. And then I hear my name called on the speaker system. And then a mic was thrust into my hand. And Brian Sandoval, give me a speech now, man. So I froze for about 3 seconds. And then I didn't even realize that I started to flow.
Wow.
Right? And frightened like hell, but I did give my speech and bam, 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 bam. And then after that, he kind of going, it was real good. Right? Which got me kind of cocky. And then I started doing it at all the judging points. And I remember my chest being all out here, head swell. And there was this old man, I was coming up the road all bravado. And I remember this old man was signing up and he said, give me a speech now. And me being young and inexperienced, speech for days, start to gantamouche myself, as we say. And the old man listened to me and he smiled like, and I'm feeling really on top of the world. And I remember him saying, my home is a dark cave where the rivers of blood flow. For even the most poisonous creatures are afraid to even cross to come across to me. I am known as the harbinger. And you know, he started to give me this speech and I'm standing there in shock because I opened myself to show off.
Right.
And he just simply answered. And then he looked at me, smiled, pat me on my shoulder and he said, you're good, young boy, you're good. Right? And walked off. Now, at that moment, I felt like a 1 cent piece in $100 party.
That bad.
That bad. All right. So I just shut down.
Right.
And I'm walking quiet. And I remember Brian Honoré coming. He walked in, come next to me, and he touched me. So I looked at him. He said, you feeling bad now? I said, Brian, boy, that man mashed me up. He said, don't get embarrassed. He said, that is an old rubber. I said, what? He said, yeah, he used to play rubber with us, but he lives outside now. Right. So he just come back, but he don't play anymore. But he liked what he saw in you. That is why he wanted to see what you could do.
Nice.
So I said, but somebody could have told me he's a rubber. You know, I would have not been that, you know, showing off. And he just laughed and told me, nah, you gotta bless him. Run with it, you know. And since then, I've just been doing it. But also what I've done in keeping with who I am, I've never been one to learn a rubber speech.
Okay.
I've never been one to do that because I've tried, I've written a lot of rubber speeches for a lot of people, right? And because when I write a speech, it's the attachment, it's spiritual for me.
Okay.
All right. So once you ask me to write a speech for you, I need to talk to you for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes because I need to feel your aura.
Yeah.
Before I decide to write for you. Or I might be sitting down by myself, looking at you talk to someone else. And that feeds me. And I could write this speech, how it may fit with you.
Right.
All right. And because I'm an actor, director, writer, and I like to do a lot of improv, you find that I just make speech up on the spot.
Right.
Most times people has asked me to write speeches for them, which I did. And they always say, here what? Do your speech, and when you finish, I'll collect it. And I said, no, hold it now. Right. When I'm ready for it, I'll come and collect it.
Okay.
Right? And then when I give a speech, they would say, but you didn't say anything on the sheet here. And I said, no, that speech done.
Right.
Once I write it, it's done. So I'm not going to do it. Because to me, it come out already, so it's no longer a challenge for me. But I need to face somebody who's now going to challenge me now. A lot of rubbers learn speeches. I can't. I've tried on numerous occasions to try and learn a speech so that I'll come and, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. That never happens with me. I may start with halt, for here I stand, and after that, it's straight improv.
Wow.
Right? And if you listen to me give speech, you would realize it's never the same speech. I could say it 6 times, you would get 6 different speeches.
Yeah.
Right? And that is what I am known for. When Brian got me involved. My nickname, they used to call me on campus, was Preacher, right? And now Preacher is no longer there.
Right.
Right. Now I'm still in church, everything, but I no longer take the sobriquet Preacher. When I started playing Midnight Robber, there were two characters I played.
Yes.
One is Chaos Bringer, which you still see.
Yes.
And then there was one called the Ancient One.
Okay.
Right.
I know Chaos Bringer.
Right. Ancient One would go into history about creation, about all these different destruction that has happened many years ago. Sometimes I may build a speech from the beginning of time, right? And the costuming, I would put a lot of branches and all these things in order so that it would look different. Okay, so you find that that is what my attention go at, and that's what I do in the Midnight Robber. But I don't like competing. I've avoided as much competition as possible. Reason being, because I improv, I may have a jump because I've met wordsmiths who they're very excellent and they have some pieces that they can give you. But my advantage is because I listen to what you're saying, I can answer that.
That's
right?
Yeah.
And if you come up with something else, I will answer that. And then I can now challenge you.
Right.
My thing is because I know you learn 2 or 3 speech marks.
Right.
So far as I know, it's 2, right? I could afford to jump and I could challenge your 2 speeches and I can give you more and keep going, right? And because of that, I avoid. Now, there are quite a few Midnight Robbers who I know for a fact are very much good, better than I am by far. Mohammed Mawakil, right? He's a poet.
Yes.
Right? Spoken word artist. And I remember not too long coming out of school, they approached me and asked if I would do work with them. Him and Ivory Haynes.
Okay.
They asked if I would do work with them, you know, because they wanted to do this whole Midnight Robber thing. And then there was Cheeky Pilgrim, and then there's Gamma Ghost. I only remember the Justice Sobriquet Gamma Ghost, right? He works at T&Tech now. But I remember they have some flow, man. Their flow is like really impeccable. And I would always give them the props. They are really great.
I'm happy to hear that. It's happy to hear that the craft is still...
No, it is there. I mean, Mud is now free tongue, so he's doing more singing, right? I haven't seen Ivory in a while. Chike still does some things. I haven't seen Gamma. I think when Gamma took Family Life, I haven't seen him. Right? There's also Damien Whiskey, who is excellent, but unfortunately he has left the game. He is now in church and handed it right back to me.
Understood.
All right. So these are some of they have Colimo the Melancholy Raider. He doesn't do much again, but he's there. There's Fedor Honoré Bryan's son. Right. That's the Vengeance of Moko.
Yes.
Right. So Master of the Oratory, I think he calls himself or something like that. So you have a lot of them who are out there. I haven't seen Pretty Boy Floyd in years, and I know him since he was a baby coming up, right? So these are some of the I think Oli Handa is another one, but I haven't seen them in a while. These are some of the people that have been doing it. Now, I want to also say that as a teacher, I'm also a teacher. I'm teaching theater arts at different schools. My school right now is Holy Faith Convent in Pina. All right. And we go over the traditional mass. And in talking with most of the people who I have an audience with, I always stress on you don't play a mass, you become.
Become the mass.
Right? The reason why I say that is because most people would throw a costume on and believe they could go out on the road and play. All well and good if you want to do that. If you're serious about the mass, then you understand there's something called rituals of preparation.
This is exactly where I wanted to go next. In terms of the tradition, where the masquerade has come from, and also the preparation for the masquerade.
All right. Well, we're going. Let me tell you, going to the 20s. Most people believe Midnight Robbers start in the 40s or the 60s. No, there were Midnight Robbers happening since in the 20s. Right? I tell people that we were the first zombies that the world experienced. And I'm saying this because the Midnight Robber emerged first from the cemetery. Friday morning, you would hear this raucous coming out of the cemetery, right? And on exploring, or if you're brave enough, to find out what it is, you would see these things coming out in the dark. And the uniform or the midnight robber costume was tattered bags.
Okay.
Imitating rotten flesh.
Gotcha.
All right. So we were not all the black and all this pretty thing. No, this came up in the 40s when they started dressing and everything else. All right. But it was tattered bags and we didn't have a whistle. You would hear a lot of ruction with a lot of noise coming out. We would knock in and go, "Ah!" You were passing by the cemetery at that hour, 3, 4 in the morning, and you hearing a ruckus. Of course, you have heard a lot of ghost stories. You have listened to a lot of these things. So therefore, it stands to reason. Now, what happened was we also drew on the fact that heaven, we says,
right,
hell is down.
Yes.
And they had a saying that when you bury the body, it goes down.
Right.
Right? And if you pay attention to the early speeches, where we talk about eating the rotten flesh of the cadavers and grinding dead men bones to break out tea, or grinding dead men bones to make out gunpowder. So we talked about that. All right, but the gunpowder came into later because at first we were sword and dagger.
Okay.
All right, so aka the Sinbad, the sailor, aka the Samakas, all these different things that was coming. All right, and eventually we evolved into becoming with the spaghetti westerns and everything, with this whole bravado and the Lee Van Cleef and thing.
I see.
You see, now that's where we start this whole show off. We're kind of showdown, kind of space off each other. But let's not jump ahead too far. We had our hats, and one of the things we don't talk about much is that midnight robber and highway robber were two masks played together, but you don't hear about highway robber anymore.
True.
Right?
True.
And which is sad. And I'm saying it's sad because highway robber and midnight robber played their role. Okay? Also, the hat elaboration. In the midnight robber idiom, the dressing of the hat became extremely important. All right? And before we would wear a tombstone or we would wear this because we came out of the cemetery.
Right.
So therefore we represent where we came out from. And if they say that we are devils or we come out from hell, right, then that's what we represent. Eventually, the hats got bigger, but that got bigger later on, right? With the Mexican cowboys and things, that's where the sombrero started getting bigger, and that's where we come out. And we started dressing it. We never left the tombstones and things like that.
Yeah.
All right. And each cape would tell you who you facing.
Right.
That's why I always remember Puggy as agent of Death Valley. And when Puggy gave you a speech, it represents his sobriquet. I am the agent of Death Valley. For when and he go into that whole speech and give you all this thing. All right. Esau Millington, right? One of the oldest who played. He played even when he was blind. He still played, right? Midnight Killers, which the band he came out from. Mr. Charles, who came from Santa Cruz. I think he still has a hat in the British Museum. Okay. Right, one of his hats, the creation, that's still there. And most people really did not interact with these guys because most didn't know. Because Esau was on the road with us. That's how we get in contact. But then in meeting Mr. Charles, it was kind of shocker because the funny thing is I'd known Mr. Charles before, but I never knew he played Midnight Robber. Yeah. Because I'd seen him around Santa Cruz, and it was just this guy around. And then when I found out that is Mr. Charles who does play, I think it's Oleander or something, so he played, right? And then one of the days, just before he died, I remember him interacting with my students because we were talking Midnight Robber, and my students go on, unbeknownst to me, boasting that I'm the best midnight robber. In Oleander. Mr. Charles was there. Right. But I went to the car to get something. And then, like, in talking, they were like next to Mr. Charles and said something. And Mr. Charles looked at him and he smiled. And then he gave a rubber speech, which kind of got everybody quiet. Now, I didn't know. I went to the car to get something. And when I come back, I find my students are sitting quiet. So I said, what happened there? What's going on? You know? And I remember one of the girls say, sir, you meet an old man, right? And I say, meet an old man. I say, yeah. He gave her a speech, so nah, we ain't talking. So I said, what are you talking about? And they say, this old man come and give them a speech. Say, sir, you ain't good, you know. Right? So I'm like, what? I say, why are you saying I'm not good? They say, but the speech the man gave, you carried there. So for me, don't know. I say, well, okay, fine. My students critique me, I good. Because I'm not performing that way. Bunks up Mr. Charles, talking with Chalo. Hey, Chalo, this time we talking. And then I remember the students come about, so you know the old man? So I say, who old man? Say him. I say, Mr. Charles? Say, yeah. I say, Mr. Charles, I've been night robber for many years. I say, you are very right to say that I am not good. If you compare me with him.
Yes.
I say, I am the first one to genuflect and say, I am not good.
Understood.
Right? So you have that coming because he has done that from since those years coming up.
Gotcha.
Because you have early pictures of him. You have early pictures of even one of the drummers from Lavantil, the Bedouin brothers, who was the drummer. And he was a midnight robber too. And when they give you this speech, and the flow was impeccable. All right. And you have to be knowledgeable in order to give the flow.
Yes.
All right. So these are the people that I pay particular attention to. Who fascinated me a great deal was Poggy. When you listen to Poggy's speeches and things like that, and Poggy, what he say, I was never an academic. As a matter of fact, I was a downright dunce. But when it comes to history, and he would give you speech, right? Which I just had to genuflect. But what I did not realize with me is that when I decided, let me correct myself in saying decided, I was chosen by the Midnight Robber, right? Let me not say I choose to do it.
Right.
Because I quite in church. And as much as I did it with Brian, the fact of the matter is the full realization of it came later on, because I realized that before I step on stage, that I would sit quietly. I start pulling myself away from everybody, sit quietly, and start first and foremost praying, covering one. Two, secondly, praying about what I'm about to do, right?
So this is preparation.
Yeah, preparation.
Yeah.
So talking rituals of preparation, and going into here, right? Pray and ask the God of creation to anoint this character that I'm going to be coming out. And then have to now say, I now give space, right, for Chaos Bringer to step forward, right? Now, after I started my ritual of preparation and understanding what it takes and getting it, ready to go out and unveil, the whole essence, the whole feel of everything is different. There was one year there was one performance I had to do, and I decided I'm going and do good preparation. And I just put on the costume and I stepped out. And I remember feeling really odd. Not just feeling odd, the whole thing felt like it was just turned upside down. And I remember trying to figure out what it is about this, that because our custom doing this, it's a normal thing. And then I remember, you did not prepare.
Right.
You just threw the costume on like some of the people you see, you looked at, which I was talking to them about, and you just went and performed. So, but when I went back now, because I had a sort of back-to-back performance, I went back and I sat alone, pulled myself together, and then I prayed, covered myself, and then I gave recognition to and allow Chaos to step forward. And then the difference now in stepping out there was completely different. After I prepare myself, I can tell you what I feel.
Right.
When I step out, I feel I'm 12 feet tall. It actually feels this way. It is like you are looking down on humanity. One. Two, the power surge is different. You actually feel it lifts you, and the whole atmosphere has changed. All right? Now, I usually say, this is where I go into the void. If you look into my eyes as Chaos, you would see where it's endless. All right? I feel it. I know for a fact. And when I finish, I always thank and send off. Right? we don't do that no more. We jump in the costume and we run.
Right.
I know the spiritual significance of the costume and the mask that I play. Every one of the traditional masks is spiritually connected.
Yes.
If we are to give it its full respect, the kind of energy and creative level of heights that we're going to bring the mask at, it is going to surprise people. And you would wonder why it is I did not see this beauty all this time.
Right.
Right now, because we are referred to as just traditional or old masks, you find that we treat it like that. But when you actually start understanding what it takes to get that mask from stage one
to completion,
completion, as you rightfully said, that is when you understand just how much it takes. If you look at old mask players or people who played before, they would never learn a mask.
Yes, true.
They would never learn a costume.
True.
They would prefer make one for you. But you can't understand why. But you play that mask 5 years now, you just have it hang up there. Give me it now.
Yeah.
And I say, nah, make one for you. One of the things I tell people, you imbue the mask. That's why the mask camp is important. That is a community space. When you work on your mask, you imbue the mask with your aura also. And you don't have to take my word for it. Borrow a mask from somebody who really don't know. Who build a mask, try to play that mask and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? And I tell people, in layman terms, it fight you. Right? You're going to feel the pain, you're going to feel this thing, and trying to figure out, where I get this from? Because you do that mask don't belong to you. And it knows its owner.
Right.
So it's going to now, because you have now invaded a space, you have taken this thing against permission.
Right.
Right? Now, I remember Damien coming to me to ask me to do a favor for him. And I said, Damien, I no longer have my costume, I sent up that because I done. And he said, I'll lend you a costume. I said, what? And he said, I'll lend you a costume. And I said, Damien, robbers don't borrow costume. And he said, listen to me, this is important. I cannot do it, but I need you to do it for the president. Please. I said, okay, Damien, what? So he brought the costume for me. He said, now, I'll lend you this costume so you could play the mask and we go talk after. So I took the costume, I put it on, prayed and thing, and then I went and I did the performance. Right after that, now I packed up and I'm trying to get him to take back the costume. And he will not respond. He will not answer his phone or anything. But every time I do a performance, he keeps sending me congratulations, this, that. And I'm saying, well, why is he not answering his phone? Not knowing he was walking out of the game. He has left Midnight Robin, gone to church, and wanted to hand it to somebody he believed. So he gave it to me. Now, the thing is, because I'm wearing the costume that he had lent me, I went through some rare pain and all kind of thing until I trying to figure out, nah. So now I started have to put my thing, repair, do this, add this to, so it could recognize me now as a new owner and doing all these different things. And when I started doing that, then I realized all the difficulty that I was experiencing is gone. Right? And I remember talking to an old person, very old person, and they say, I remember you watch me and say, that is not your costume. And I say, well, not completely. I say, but now I'm going to make it mine. So you say, oh, all right. Right? And I looked at him. And he said, you see why you're worried? Or? I said, nah, I'm worried. I said, I understand what you saw. I said, because I've spoken with enough and I've been around long enough to understand it. He said, good. He said, all right, so you're making this, you're doing this, you're doing that, take that. And he told me, and I dress the costume. And I come out and I play. Now, I've made other costumes also, but one I am sure that stands out with chaos is the one that I have repurposed. That gave the full energy of chaos. Now, I've used other costume, but it's there. It doesn't feel like it has been anointed yet. So I very rare will not, very rare I will bring it close to you. Right? So we look at that. Rituals of preparation, history.
So what about your speeches now, right? You have said before that it just comes from you, right? And you have identified robbers, they would write their speeches, remember it, and deliver well. right? And you also said that you don't compete or that you don't like competition.
I don't like competition.
What do you think these speeches do for the society or who would be listening and so on? Because before we were chatting about it being a mirror or you're showing bits of yourself that society doesn't allow you to show.
It is that.
Let me know.
All right, let's do that. The thing about it is for the Midnight Rubber, one of the things that each one of the masks that we play address a social issue.
Nice.
All right. And with the Midnight Rubber, one of the things that I always say is that we are unapologetic in our approach. For you to look at somebody and say, I am the one that bring the destruction that you experience, right? It's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
To look at somebody in the eyes and tell them, I am responsible for that. So the tsunami that came and destroyed all these houses, I am responsible for that. The earthquake that shattered all these things, I am responsible for that. It takes a lot of guts in the midst of suffrage to watch somebody in the face and say, I did it. I am the one responsible. Now, that is the shallow look at it. The mirror we're talking about. There's a part of us, which I like to say is dark. But we don't like to bring that up because society will not accept that. Because if you are well known in society or they expect this from you, we use things like, I don't want to shame my family or, come on, man, the job you do, you can afford to be, okay, as a teacher, there are things that I will not say or I'm not allowed to say because I interact with students. One rough example, I drive. We have some drivers who I always say they grew up in a toilet or they were born in a toilet.
Clearly.
Right? I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it here.
Yeah.
Right? But they were born in toilet because the way they grew, they are products of toilets.
Right.
All right? So that's my thing. All right? And when you see driving, sometimes you want to wind on your window, throw your head outside and let them have a few Munich and French words. Right? However, you're always remembering, teacher, it could be a parent, right, that you end up cussing out.
Right.
And then when you have parent-teacher day, the parent sit in front of you with a broad smile and say, because I saw it happen to one person already, say, the parent watch him and say, you could real cuss, boy. And I promised myself, that ain't happening. Right? So on numerous occasions, that side of you want to come out. And it is a release actually when that side come out because it had this person that step on your last nerve and you just want to tell them quite a few things. However, situations or circumstances may not permit it.
Yes.
But when you do, you just feel like, yeah, get off my chest now. Right? Whether you like it or not. For some of us, we choose the coward way out. We put alcohol on our breath and we say it. And then say, oh God, that was the alcohol talking to me. Right? We use these tricks. But my thing is, for us, we are unapologetic. So you find that we stand firm and we tell you who we are, what we come from, and what we intend to do and what we will do. All right? And if you don't like it, there's nothing good about it. What would you do? Threaten me?
Right.
What would you do? I am death incarnate. If you threaten me with death, I am the harbinger. What could you do to me that could bring fear? Historically looking at that, it was looking at societal structure. If we want to go back in a bit of history, we would say when massa dictate particular things, each mass, like the baby doll, the pregnancy of the little child, and all these, and you look at the Dame Lorraine, the spin-off of getting fun off of this one and that one. The Midnight Rubbers step in unapologetic and tell you, I don't give two shit. Sorry, could I say that?
No.
I can't. My apologies. I am really, really sorry. I don't give two scrap about what you think, right? Because you believe that this is what bars me, or this is the restriction or the limit that I'm at. I'm telling you, I'm more than that. I am beyond the box. As a matter of fact, that's why you would hear in some of the speeches, one of the speeches that I did, I remember saying that at the beginning of creation, I was standing and looking on for when God was creating man, I rub my hand in glee because I know at the coming of mortal, my joy for torture will be ignited, right? And therefore, they pay me a bounty never to walk upon the heavenly plains because the angels fear me. And even at the mention of my name, you would see that dead men get up from their grave and run, begging for mercy, but none shall come. So you find that in these speeches, that it is, if you look at it from a psychological perspective, it is that boldness to be able to look at your insecurity and just shift it aside and say, away. I don't have time for you. My students, I use a lot of it with my students because we're dealing with students who are at the age where they fear what people say about them.
Right.
And I always I say, so the school uniform you have on, which one of the students say, bought that for you?
Right.
And I said, none, sir. And I said, oh, the books, student here brought, no. The shoes, no. They buy food for you in the cafeteria, no. Oh, they pay for you to go home and come to school. They say, no. Then why is it that you're giving them that kind of power?
Right.
Right? Come on, let's be real. If you care what people think about you, you're going to fall. But if you're serious about growth and about standing firm, which you have to, because you have to fend for yourself, this is what the midnight robber, the persona of the robber is all about. That strength, that whole standing there and saying, I don't care what you think. You can say what you want. I am me. And I sit here comfortable in my space and who I am. And if you have a problem with that, guess what? I just don't care.
Sad be your
You
portion.
understand that? That's to say, sad be your portion.
So with that, and understanding that bits of the midnight robber exist in all of us.
Yes, it does.
It's just how we bring it out. You have the craft of the words, but we may play sports. And you then dominate that space. Or music, let
me put it in layman terms quickly. There's a dark part in each and every one of us, and I keep saying that. All right? Light makes no sense without darkness.
Right.
You will not understand light unless you enter darkness. And I always say, your strongest moment actually is in your darkness. And I'm saying that because when you get things off your chest, you feel better. When your body change chemical or heal itself, you need to be asleep, eyes shut, total darkness, because you are now into deep sleep. And that's when your body heals itself and do everything else. Try sleeping in the day and see what happens for you. When you wake up, you feel tired. And you're trying to figure out, why? God, but I sleep, you understand? But sleep in the night.
True.
Switch off and everything else. And see what happens. That's when your body heal itself, go through the whole changes. So that when you wake up, you feel refreshed. And because we have been told that evil is dark and righteousness is warm, is light, we run with that. If righteousness is light and right, then why does darkness exist? Why does night exist?
Right.
Why is it that we feel refreshed after a night's rest, right? But yet still our bodies still vibrate differently if we sleep in the day. We don't wake up feeling as refreshed as we do in the night. Why? Why is it that the dew and, well, I know it's the sun, but that is around the time the earth is replenished. That is around the time the earth goes through everything else. And most people have a tendency to not pay attention to these things, right? Which is significant and which is really important, you know? And as I always tell people, there is that side of you. You consciously have to work hard at keeping the light part. But the dark is all pushing to tell you, hey, what the heat? What you say? My God, from your boy.
Right.
And you find that after you run that or you say what you say, but you use something else so you could say that. When me not say that, I tell him exactly what you had to say. We ain't lying to nobody.
Right.
You know, and when you start taking that approach, you find that it's easier, less of a bill or anything like that. It may sound weird, but that's what happened.
Gotcha. So when we look at the speeches, right?
Speech.
And there are some that I can identify as being one where you speak about your lineage. At the age of 1, I do this. At the age of 2.
Right.
But then there are others that bring you into a different space where this is the drama that I bring, or this is the chaos that I bring. What are the differences between the two? And has that become a standard, I guess, within the Midnight Rubber community that you must have these types of speeches?
All right. In order to answer that question, it means then I have to go into the template of the rubber.
Okay.
All right, the template. All 5 standard years of the bank of the river about looking upon mortal man. For on the day that I was born, the sun refused to shine his then mortal man knew destruction had come upon this land. Ask not my name, my claim to fame, or from whence I came, whether it's by wind, rain, or hurricane. Right? In explaining the template, starting, halt tells you I am about to give a speech.
Right.
Right? Most people who don't know would start to want to say, stop, you mocking pretender. Stop, you mocking pretender would mean you are challenging.
Okay.
So most people who don't know would try to start by saying, stop. If you follow the template, halt is what announce that you are about to speak. Stop, you're challenging someone who spoke before you. And in giving your speech, you will give a bit of your genealogy. Then it goes into the reason for my sudden appearance upon this mortal plane, right? That's the next part of it, right? So there's my appearance, who I am, what I do. That is clear. Now I'm telling you why I come today, the reason for my sudden appearance, which I will now elucidate.
Gotcha.
And then after that, when I'm finished, that is when I go back to where we talked about hell is where.
Down.
And the entrance to hell is where?
Down.
The cemetery.
The cemetery. Yeah.
Right? So therefore, that's why if you listen to the end of a speech of Midnight Rubber, you will hear, it is getting late, and I must return to Hellgate. Right. So that means we finish, and we are now going back to hell. And that is into the cemetery. Right? And the mausoleums or whichever they build, we could either go through there or we just go straight down where the tombstones are.
Gotcha.
Right? Now, each speech, in explaining that, that's just the template of doing your speech. But each one of the characters have a speech that represents who they are.
Gotcha.
All right? You recognize it based on, okay, let me use myself.
Yes.
In chaos, because my speech is made in terror, because terror is my forte.
Right.
Today I could be merciful, or today I could be merciless. You never know. That's why if you look at me, there's one side white, one side white.
Yeah.
So one side white, one side black.
Yes.
So what happens is that you never know whether today I would choose mercy or today I would just annihilate without thinking. Right? So you have that. So my speeches will talk about that. But before we talked about terror, we talked about gory, eating the rotten flesh of cadavers, grinding dead men's bones to make out tea and all this sort of thing. Then it became, with Brian Honoré, it became more topical. Brian brought topic fully to the forefront. Now, it didn't say that there were not people who did topics, but Brian Honoré made it as being a librarian, right? Okanga Sarah was his own thing. He then now addressed issues, right, who brought me into it. And therefore, what happened was, I have a love for terror, but I would bring issues with it also.
Gotcha.
Right? And he even introduced, I remember that, 15 young ladies at Mokorapo, because he was the librarian down there, and 15 girls, young ladies calling themselves the Mokorapo Marauders. Now, it doesn't say they were the first women, because there was a woman who I think in the 40s or 50s who did Midnight Rubber. And there's a picture of her in the costume. All right? One of the old pictures. But that is not something that you see a lot of.
Yes.
All right? If you wanted, you could go to the NCC archives and you will get that.
Gotcha.
Okay? Also, each one, like I said, the speech, now you could, before, you could have identified which village the Midnight Robber come from based on their speech. Each village, each robber that represented the village would then learn all the robbers that come. If we're coming out of Santa Cruz, you find that all the robbers in Santa Cruz would come together and we would do this speech and the village would sit down and listen. And if it's not sharp enough, the village were involved in it.
Right.
All right? Then you had, so you would know when you come into town, even though, which is funny, we all come out from the same village. But the Midnight Robbers really don't be together.
Right. Okay.
They separate and go their way. And then we come back later on. Now, masqueraders had kind of changed that. Well, midnight, no, let me correct that. It wasn't masqueraders. It was midnight killers.
Okay.
So, and then the earlies, they talked about that. Forming the band and then the band moving and then you see. But each went their way. Masqueraders is the only one that I know. We stay together, all perform together. Right? And but the midnight robber being someone who is always alone because you're looting and plundering.
Right.
Right. You give your speech and you collect your bounty, or you say empty your treasures in my coffers. For some, we had a small coffin with a slit at the top. And so you put the money in.
Okay.
All right. Or some of us, we have this sack.
Satchel, right.
This, right? It's satchel, as you rightfully said. And you put the money into that. All right. Now, I remember one year when I played Ancient One, I remember it was the first time Esau Millington seeing me play it. I got some nuts bag and I went into one of these stores and I bought a set of safety pins, right? And then I came down, bought a scissors, and I came down to Julian Avenue. And they say, where your costume? I said, right here. And they saw these set of bags and said, but we only see bags, how are you going to do that? I said, don't worry about that. And I sat down and started cut and used the pin instead of trying to sew.
Right.
I pin up and I made a costume out of the flower bag, the
nuts bag.
Nuts bag right there. And then I I had my hat and I pinned some of the bags on it. And then I put it on, not knowing Esau Millington was looking at that. And when I did that, I said, Brian, we're ready. Go on and play, right? And I remember before we hit the last point, Esau Millington said, hold this. And I said, where's that? And then he handed me some money. And my team was like, I know I didn't compete with him, so why is he paying me? And he said, you have taken me back years watching you build this costume right there on the spot. He said, that gladdened my heart. He says, I tell myself, money I make, I'm giving it. So I said, Esau, no, I can't. He said, take it, right? And therefore, now that was the biggest set of money I made doing Midnight Robin, because Esau did his speeches, got his money, and paid me. Right? I give speeches too, but I didn't make as much money. I think the person who paid me that year was Gandhi Cummins. Right. He gave me $5, right? Which was good. But Esau Millington was the biggest thing. And you look at that whole setup, our speeches. One could encourage, one could create the fear, one could admonish, or it depends on which idiom you want to go into. All right? Because I'll tell you why I'm saying that. I did some workshops in Tobago, and I remember in the workshop there was a Christian girl. And her thing was, I don't see this working in the church. And then I started to give her a speech, quoting scriptures, and then starting to expound a little more on the scriptures. And she was kind of surprised and said, but you could do that? And I said, you can't do anything with the Midnight Robber speech. If you limit your mind, that is where it stays. Right. But if you realize, I want to teach, like this guy with maths came to me, and with the Midnight Robber, I was showing maths, and he said, how you use it in maths? And I said, but how much men face me? And that's what I told you earlier. For 4,000 people, 4,000 people stand against me, but at my passing, 3,999 were dead. One barely alive to carry the message of the destructive power of Chaos Bringer. And then I met whoever this, that, but it's always about how much I met and how much was left. Right. And you would find one of the things that we're doing now, but before we never actually used to mention it in our speech. We never used to say, I killed 2,000 men. Right. We would say 3,000 face me. At my passing, 2,000 lay dead at my feet. Right? You find out when we say that, it's clear to the audience. We didn't go to the extreme and say, kill 2 men and I do this and I do that. We will not do that. Yes. That's poetic. That, right. So you have that flow. Yes. Right. And then I remember one of my greatest speeches that are not mine, but one of the greatest speeches that I've ever heard. I remember there were 2 guys warring, old guys. And then one said, I remember him saying, while he's giving his speech, I crossed the Sahara forest. And then the guy who he was contending with said, Man, away with you, you're talking nonsense. The Sahara is a desert, everybody know. And then his reply was, after I crossed, it became a desert. And that was it. That was it. There was no coming back. There was no trying to think. The guy and all, when he got that, he genuflected one time and gave up. Right, because he will not compete against that. Also, there was one where there was an old guy when he was talking, because and part of the speech, he said, when my revolver refused to fire, my sword and I shall never retire. Right? That these kind of flows that you don't get these little gems popping up anymore. So like I always tell people, because terror is my forte, I love it. You can bring whatever you want. Now, if I'm up for the challenge, which is great, I'm going to come at you. Other than that, like I told some students that I did, and their great aim was to challenge me. And because I'm merciless in a challenge, that's why I don't compete. Right. I don't care who you are. We are good friends, but if you come against me, I will annihilate you. Right. Right? Or you annihilate me. There was a couple of students who I did work with, and I didn't know their greatest goal was to compete against me. I did not know that. They came and they joined the band, and they played with me. And I remember there was a showdown to happen. And one of the child, she started pacing showdown, but I wasn't paying that much attention because as far as I concerned, it's the students going to do it. And then I found out they challenged me. And I'm like, me, of all people. And I said, I do think this would be nice, right? And then she said, I will not be satisfied until I challenge you. Excuse me, sorry. I said, okay, let's go. I will not lie. She wasn't just good, she was damn good because she went home and prepared. She studied me. She let me know after because she had looked at videos that I've done and she sat in class and paid attention, not to only what I said.
It's how and the delivery, yes.
And she says she looked at my body language on things that I spoke about. And then she said she heard things I was not saying. Right? And because of that, she really wanted to see if what I'm not saying would ever come out in the challenge. Right. Right? And therefore, when I responded, which when I go into challenge mode, I become different. I no longer see a friend or anything. I see
the challenge.
Right. So I deal with it. Right? And she loved the experience. And she said, this has made her life.
Fantastic.
Her thing was she just wanted to do that. She challenged the rubber man who taught her. And that happened with 5 students who I taught over the years. Some did they come. Now, there was also, I'm going to touch a bit on the spiritual significance of the speech. Okay. All right.
And then we'll go into the question.
All right. Sorry, let me do that quickly. Rishi, Sitting Bull, Tatenkai, reached out to me and asked if I could write him a speech. Now, when I met Tatenkai, he was going into Calypso. Okay. Right, and he said I introduced him to the rubber. I lent him a record and then I gave him some tapes with speech. And he said, "Sing this," and he wanted to do it.
There are records of it.
Right? And I remember him saying, I want to do the Midnight Rubber. And I said, go ahead, right, and do it. And one day, we ended up bouncing up on the street because when I met him, he was a taxi driver. He said, hey, I need a speech from you. I said, Bull, you could do your own speech because Sitting Bull, I know him as. Right? And he said, nah, I can't do that. I want one from you. And he said, I'm not moving from you until I give me one. No, because I'm just standing there. I said, but oh, go man, Bull, I'm ready to do something. He said, no, not until you give me that speech. So I wrote a speech for him and I gave him. And I went my way. And then I found out he came first died, right? But I only found that out like about the year later. Then he came again and said, hey, I need a next speech. So I wrote this speech for him and I gave him. And that went on for a couple of years as well. And I remember Damien meeting me and he looked at me and he said, I want to ask you a question. I said, what's that? He said, you just write that speech for Sitting Bull. So I said, why you ask that? He said, I know Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull don't say those words, right? He say, I more hear it from you. That's why I come back. I say, well, yeah. Because he asks and I usually do it. The last speech that I wrote for him was called Days of Ancient. And that one, it was Tatankai coming back, came through the portal to reclaim what was his. Paradise Sitting Bull. In writing it, this is me, and it always stands out for me. When I wrote it, I looked at it and I said, Bull, I don't think I'm going to get the speech. And he said, give me the speech. And I said, no, this feels like goodbye. And he said, no, give me my speech because you read it. And he started taking it. I said, no, Tatankai. I said, Bull, I really feel I could write something else for you. And he said, nah, give me this speech. I said, Bull, I don't know what it is, but it feels like goodbye. And I don't want you to read this speech. I want you to do something else. And he took this speech and he did it that year. And I remember not long after, his wife called me and said, hey, I'm calling you to let you know Rishi died.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what? See, Rishi died. And she said, I called you because I remember the conversation you were having with him.
Right.
So I want to call you to let you know.
Wow.
So that had me kind of really put off because a lot of people would ask me to write speech and I would write. Right? So because of that, now I sort of drop back and stayed back now. And I'm like, oh God, I don't want to cause no kind of thing with anybody. Because with me, like I said, I need to feel your aura. I need to see you talk, move or something. And I'm just sit quietly and look at you. And while I'm looking at you, I would write.
Okay.
You would not even know I'm writing.
Okay.
I would just write and hand it to you after and go.
Okay.
I've had people approach me because they have to go on film to do things and they want a speech. And I remember, I'll use a rough example. Che Rodriguez one day called me and said, hey, I need a rubber speech from you. So I'd written a rubber speech and sent it to Che. And then he sent back and said, you see, Kurtis, this is not it. So I said, Che, what do you need this speech for? You say, I'm playing a character. So I need a speech that could emulate. I said, tell me about the character. I just need, explain the character to me. When he did that, I said, give me a minute. And I wrote, and I sent his speech. He said, this is exactly what it is. You got to represent who he's portraying.
Right.
And I said, okay.
Yeah.
He said, how you know how I feel? I said, because in the little talk he was talking with me, I felt the aura of you. That's why I could write to what I see.
Gotcha.
And that's why in speech and things like that, I'm careful with who I write for and what I write for them.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for walking us through the Midnight Rubber and your experience. No, it was fantastic.
Okay.
But we have a little bit more. So I would like to bring to our virtual podium Miss Ty Hackett. How are you?
Hello, testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2.
Yeah, I think we are. Yeah. Yes.
Not hearing very clearly.
One more. Testing 1, 2, sound check, mic check. Good afternoon, everyone.
Nice.
Thank you so much
Loud and clear.
We are seeing a lot of great comments in the chat. Thank you very much for confirming that my audio is in fact working. I have been interacting with you all in the chat. I'm seeing a message from Bonnie Bishop. With this session in mind, I had cause to remember Brian Honoré. His portrayals always on point, relevant, and so contemporary. Librarian, archivist at Malik SCS. So remembering Mr. Honoré today. There's Celeste Chariani says that there was/is an exhibition at Nales, Port of Spain. So I think that is currently in progress, and I'm seeing that people have put the graphic in the chat. Trisha Bernard compliments you, Kurtis. She says, your energy and joy in telling the tale is wonderful to take in. And I can attest to that as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Vindra asks, where can we get recordings of the Midnight Robbers speaking? This is such an amazing art, visual, spoken word, most amazing.
So we get speeches.
You have, well, because when Brian was alive, the last thing he did was a record. You can go up online or you can go to the National Library, see if they have a copy, but it's called the Satellite Rubber. That's the album. And on there, or you can reach out to DJ Melancholy. That is Anthony Collymore. He has copies of it. And once you talk to him, he can get it to you. All right?
Cool.
Thank you very much. So I think you covered your rituals of preparation. Maria asked about that. Bridget Brereton, Professor Emerita Bridget Brereton is asking, have there been / are there accomplished female midnight robbers?
The female midnight robbers.
I know there was Ivory Hayes. She's not playing it anymore. I know there's a young lady. She comes out every Camboulet. There's a young lady that plays there. Also, there was Khalifa, but because she's representing Trinidad and Tobago in netball, she is not out as she should. But she and her mother would come out and play every year. They would be with Mystery Raiders. So if you go to Mystery Raiders, the band of robbers, you would see Khalifa there as well as her mom.
Okay, so I'm hearing this. You can see female woman midnight robbers at Mystery Raiders. Okay, great.
Yes.
So there's a few more questions. Mystery Raiders. I think they answered that question as well. Really, Joanne Haynes, really enjoyed your chat on the ritual and sacredness of the Mass. Alicia Oxley, this is deep. Wow. Reverend Michelle Omar Labor, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Very informative, but do the other persons who represent the midnight robber also follow the same ritual before putting on the costume?
That's an interesting question, because preparation might be different from masquerader to masquerader.
Each depend on what it is they want to do. Those who genuinely play understand there's a ritual of preparation. It may not be the same process, but they actually prepare themselves before they actually get involved. You would see it with the Blue Devils. You would see it with everyone once they are serious about the mass they play.
Yeah, the Moko Jumbies.
Moko Jumbies, everyone, they do that. Those who understand it understand its spiritual significance.
Thank you very much. So Marsha Clifton says, so although the midnight robber is dark, it's really the darkness of the truth?
Yes, it's dark truth. It is reality. And because we have been taught that the dark is wrong, we have a tendency to believe it is. But why, if it's so wrong, my question is, why do you feel enlightened? And why do you feel emboldened? And when you get things off your chest, and I'm not talking about disrespect, but I'm talking about calling truth.
Yeah.
Call it for what it is. And whether they get upset or not, the fact of the matter is you spoke truth.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So now we have a comment from Euclid. This is a compelling, exquisite, and unique experience. Awesome. Marsha Clifton says, sounds very much like Esau. The robber has neither friend nor foe. Euclid says, always wanted to know how and why the midnight robber appears. Glad to hear this from Brian. Joycelyn Hezekiah asks, why is the cemetery identified as hell?
Well, the thing about it is, we've always believed, and I'm talking about from a child, we've always believed, like they say, heaven is up, hell is down. And if you're burying a body, it goes to hell first. All right, and then you either ascend. For example, let's look at a biblical. When Christ died, they said he descended to hell. It's even in prayer, right? He descended on the third day. He rose again, right? So he descended to hell to take the keys of what? From Satan, the keys of life and death from Satan. So death has no power over him anymore before he came back and then he ascended. So you find that most of the time, because of biblical reading, when you're buried, you wait for judgment, but you wait where? In purgatory. Where is purgatory? They never say that you wait up in purgatory. You understand? Or anything like that. But it always says that that's where you go. So what happened was, with the midnight robber, you say, we deal in evil. So we are coming from hell now to judge and to speak truth to you, not just truth to you, but to call you out, on whatever it is. So that's why we come from the cemetery, we do our due, and then we go right back, because that's where you say we come from.
Right.
And that's where you say we are going back to. That's why it is getting late, and I must return to Hellgate. But know this, you mocking pretenders, you have been graced by Chaos Bringer, or a true midnight robber.
Boom.
And then they leave.
Mic drop.
Mic drop, mic drop. Claudia White says, good evening, everyone. I must praise the National Trust for the work they are doing. This has been so informative. All the best to everyone. Joanne Haynes says, I wait of the day when Robber Talk will be treated as literature, language, history, comprehension classes, and recognition given to the robber as a statement of place and identity.
Yeah.
Neela Todd says, thanks for this first presentation of the year, which satisfies in so many ways. Joycelyn Hezekiah says, absolutely enthralling and so informative. I'm just seeing just loads and loads of compliments. Ifa Bunmi, Rhonda Valentine Charles, a great presentation, Kurtis. It was like being in class. Guidance and blessings.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm hearing from Crystal Alvarez Holder of an interesting and well-informed discussion. A usual Kurtis's passion for the craft is contagious. I hope the torch can be passed on to the younger generations. Right?
Thanks, Chris.
I had the pleasure of meeting this great soul, Kurtis Gross, and rode around the city with him, breathing in his midnight robber energy. Keep inspiring. But unfortunately, I don't know who that comment is from. Bonnie Wiltshire, fantastic. I hope this presentation can be included in the Banyan collection. Cheryl Mackenzie Cook, congratulations on the National Trust for putting this on. Euclid asks, how can you use the midnight robber in Europe?
Oh.
How we can use it where?
In Europe.
In Europe? Simple. What are the issues you want to address? Whatever. And you can get the midnight robber. Once you learn the template, you can get the flow. Get it to Europe. What do you mean? Get the robber to Europe or get me to Europe? Which one is it you're really asking?
It sounds like they want to fly you to Europe, you know.
Oh, they want me to come to Europe.
I think that...
Right? Make sure there's a place that I can stay. Make sure there's good food.
Caribbean Airlines, and then
the message about who had the pleasure of meeting you and riding around the city is Kendall Julian from Brooklyn, New York. So good evening, Kendall, and thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, Kendall.
All right, Vindra says this was more than just a webinar, truly a moving experience. Thank you for bringing this to us online. I am not seeing any more questions, unfortunately. I think that might be the end of our questions from our question and answer segment. So over to you, Joseph Bertrand.
Thank you so much. And now it is getting late. I don't know the rest. Tell me.
Must return to Hellgate. But know this, you faithful observers, you have been graced by Kurtis Gross Chaos Bringer, a midnight robber.
Kurtis, I have a question for you. When can people in Trinidad right now see you next? Is it this Saturday, perhaps, at Tiny Mass Big Heritage?
Yes.
Tiny Mass Big Heritage.
Right here at Millfleur Heritage House.
Friends, if you want to see the Chaos Bringer, and I'm sure you do, want to see him in full flight, Tiny Mass Big Heritage, Saturday, the 31st of January, right here at Millfleur. 2 p.m. right here at Millfleur, Tiny Mass, Big Heritage. And any final thoughts before we sign off?
Stay true.
That's it.
That's it.
Pleasure. Friends, thank you so much for joining us here at the Toute Bagai Lecture Series. This is our first session for 2026, and it was definitely a pleasure to sit with the man himself, Kurtis Gross Chaos Bringer, the midnight robber, talking about the traditions of Carnival, the Midnight Robber Edition. We have so much more planned for you. And again, please join the movement that is the National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago. We are here, and we belong to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So come on board, join us, be a member of the National Trust. I am 100% sure that there is a link in the chat where you can join and become a member. I will see you all on Saturday for Tiny Mass Big Heritage. And as usual, my friends, we have refreshments for you. Down the hall, to the left, open your fridge, and the refreshments are right there. As usual, yes. I cook good for you. Look. So, my friends, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all of the comments and the questions that you've had for us. Don't forget Tiny Mass Big Heritage on Saturday. You can see Kurtis Gross. I'm sorry. You will see Chaos Bringer. Yes, you'll see Chaos Bringer right here at Tiny Mass Big Heritage and so much more. Stay tuned. Stay very close to the social media for the National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago, where you'll find out more about what is next for us. In February, we are meeting back here again, same time, same place, at 5:30 p.m., the last Wednesday of every month, where we come together for the Toute Bagai Lecture Series, where we talk everything heritage. So, my friends, do enjoy the rest of your evening and are ready. It is getting late.
It is getting late. And we must return to Hell Gate. But know this, you great observers, you have been graced by Mr. Bertrand Joseph, Kurtis Gross Chaos Bringer, true midnight
Robbers. Pleasure.